soft smile, the kind that made Mabel's heart flutter with hope. Outside the door, Clinton smiled too. That little smile on his daughter's face felt like sunshine breaking through dark clouds. He pressed his back to the wall quietly, listening. Then Mabel took a deep breath. Her voice became softer, shakier. "But you see, my darling, I don't have what you have. I never knew my parents. I don't know what my mother looked like or if she ever held me. They told me that I was found in a carton, just a tiny baby left alone." Ariana's eyes widened. "I grew up in the orphanage. That was my home for years," Mabel continued, "until one day a family adopted me. Oh, I was so happy, baby. I became their everything, their light, their joy. But then God started blessing them with their own children, and everything changed." She swallowed hard, eyes glistening. "They treated me like a stranger in the house, like I didn't matter anymore, and one day, just like that, they told me to leave." Mabel's voice broke. Her eyes welled up with tears she had hidden for years. She tried to smile through it, but her lips trembled. "I thought I was strong, but sometimes I just wanted someone to hold me and say, 'I love you, Mabel.' And then it happened." For the first time since Mabel stepped into that house, Ariana moved. She dropped her teddy bear gently, slid closer to Mabel, and wrapped her small arms around her in the sweetest, most innocent hug. Mabel froze. Then slowly she leaned into the hug, and both of them cried. Real, quiet, healing tears. Outside, Sir Clinton was no longer smiling. His eyes were misty, his throat tight. He turned around and walked back to his room in silence, overwhelmed by emotion. That night, Mabel tucked Ariana in, kissed her forehead with deep gratitude, and whispered, "Good night, my little angel." She walked out feeling lighter, her heart finally feeling seen. The next morning, something magical happened. Ariana came downstairs, not in silence, not with her head down, but laughing. She ran into the kitchen, smiling and playing. She even helped Mabel carry plates to the dining table. Her joy filled the whole room like sunshine through the windows. Mabel couldn't stop smiling. Then Sir Clinton came downstairs and paused at the foot of the stairs. There, right in front of him, was the daughter he hadn't seen smile in 2 years, laughing and dancing around Mabel like she had always known her. He walked closer, and Ariana saw him. Without hesitation, she opened her arms wide and ran to him. "Daddy!" she cried, hugging him tightly. Clinton's heart nearly burst. He knelt and hugged her back, closing his eyes in disbelief. His daughter, his little girl, was coming back to him. Mabel served breakfast quietly and turned to leave the dining area to give them space. But Clinton stopped her. "Mabel," he said softly. She turned, surprised. He looked at her for a moment. Then he said the words that had been sitting in his heart for days. "I listened to your story last night." Mabel's eyes widened slightly, but she said nothing. "I also want to say, I'm sorry for slapping you that day," he said, his voice low and sincere. "I was wrong. I was angry, lost, but that was no excuse." Mabel gave a small smile. "It's okay, sir. You don't need to apologize. I understand." He stepped closer, eyes still on hers. "No, I do. And thank you, Mabel. Thank you for helping my daughter smile again, for not giving up. You did what I couldn't." She looked down. Her heart is full. Nothing, sir, really. I didn't do much. But Clinton knew she has done everything. Ariana and Mabel had become so close that it was impossible not to notice their bond. They played together, laughed together, and even slept in the same room. Every night, Ariana would snuggle beside Mabel, holding her tight like a security blanket. She would fall asleep peacefully, knowing that her storyteller was right beside her. Sir Clinton noticed the change. For the first time in years, his house felt like a home again. There was laughter, warmth, and a new kind of peace that slowly filled the air. Then, one early Monday morning, something shifted in Clinton too. He stood in front of his wardrobe and carefully picked out a crisp navy blue luxury suit, one he hadn't worn in 2 years. He polished his shoes, adjusted his tie, and stared at himself in the mirror for a long time. Since the death of his wife, he had abandoned everything: his job, his passions, his social life. But today he felt different. He felt ready. He stepped out of his room, well-groomed and looking powerful again, just like the man he used to be. Mabel was in the living room preparing breakfast, and Ariana was still fast asleep upstairs. "Good morning, Mabel," Clinton said. Mabel looked up and her eyes widened slightly. "Good morning, sir." "Wow, you look very sharp today." He smiled faintly. "Thank you. I've decided to return to the office." "That's a good decision, sir," she replied with a gentle smile. "I'm happy for you. You're ready." He nodded. "Yes, I think I am. Your breakfast is ready." He smiled and had some breakfast. Mabel walked him to the door, waving as he stepped into his car. "Have a great day at work, sir." Clinton glanced back one more time, a little nervous but encouraged by her smile. He waved, then drove off. Mabel closed the door gently, leaned on it, and smiled to herself. "He's healing," she whispered. She turned to see Ariana coming down the stairs, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "Good morning, Auntie Mabel." "Good morning, my princess," Mabel said cheerfully. "Guess what?" Ariana's eyes lit up instantly. "What?" "I want you to go back to school," Mabel said softly, kneeling to her level. Ariana gasped with joy. "Yes, Auntie Mabel, I want to go back to school." Mabel laughed and hugged her tightly. "That's my girl." She took Ariana upstairs and carefully loosened her hair. She washed it gently, dried it with a soft towel, and combed it with love. Then she styled it into a neat, beautiful ponytail. Ariana admired herself in the mirror, twirling with joy. "I look like a real princess." "You are a princess," Mabel said, placing a kiss on her forehead. The next morning, Tuesday, came like a fresh breeze. Mabel woke Ariana early, bathed her, brushed her teeth, and helped her into her freshly ironed school uniform. She even added a pink ribbon to match her socks. Ariana looked breathtakingly beautiful and full of life. As they stepped out of the room, Clinton was just coming down the stairs, adjusting his wristwatch and ready for another day at work. He paused the moment he saw them. Ariana was standing proudly in her uniform, her school bag slung over her little shoulders, her hair shining and perfectly packed in her ponytail. Her shoes gleamed, and her smile was wider than ever. Clinton's eyes filled with emotion. He slowly walked toward her, knelt down, and wrapped her in a warm, long hug. "My baby, you look amazing," he whispered. Ariana smiled and hugged him tightly. "Thank you, Daddy." Then he looked up at Mabel. "Thank you," he said again, with more weight, more meaning. Mabel's eyes softened. "She's ready," she replied simply. "I can see that," he said. "Thank you, Mabel. You've done more than you'll ever know." Ariana turned to Mabel and hugged her too. "Auntie Mabel, I'll see you soon." Mabel knelt and kissed her on the cheek. "Have a great day at school, my baby. Make new friends and be a good girl." Then she took her hand and gently walked her to the car. Clinton opened the car door, helped Ariana in, and buckled her seatbelt. Then Mabel leaned in, waved at her, and stepped back. "Goodbye, Ariana." "Bye, Auntie Mabel." As the car drove away, Mabel stood in front of the gate, waving until the car disappeared down the road. Her heart was full. The house was healing. Ariana was smiling. Clinton was moving forward. And for the first time in a long time, Mabel felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. It was a peaceful Saturday morning, the kind that made the whole world feel quiet and calm. Birds chirped softly in the trees, and the sun smiled gently across the garden. Mabel had woken up early to finish her chores so she could spend quality time with Ariana. By mid-morning, Mabel and Ariana were in the garden, running around like two carefree children. They played catch, laughed loudly, and even rolled on the grass. Mabel picked flowers and tucked them behind Ariana's ears, and Ariana giggled, calling herself a garden fairy. Inside the house, Sir Clinton stood quietly at the window, his hands resting on the frame. He watched them play, a warm smile spreading across his face. It was the kind of smile that came from deep peace, the kind he hadn't felt in a very long time. There was something healing in the sound of their laughter, something beautiful about seeing his daughter happy again. He closed his eyes briefly and whispered, "Thank you, God." Later that afternoon, Mabel came inside and made lunch, fried rice with grilled chicken and fresh orange juice. She called them to the table, and they ate like a small family. Afterward, she cleared the dishes and brought out Ariana's school bag to help her with her weekend assignment. As she helped Ariana spell her words and count simple numbers, Clinton sat on the couch watching them, still amazed at how natural Mabel was with the child. Then suddenly Clinton said, "Mabel, I've been thinking." She looked up from Ariana's notebook. "Yes, sir?" "You should apply for JAMB. You told me once that you stopped at secondary school, right?" Mabel blinked, surprised. "Yes, I did. I want you to go back to school. Finish your education. We'll support you." Mabel stared at him, her eyes beginning to water. "Are you serious, sir?" "Very serious," Clinton said with a smile. "You've taken care of my daughter like your own. You deserve to chase your dreams too." Mabel wiped her eyes and bowed her head slightly. "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much." Just then, Ariana dashed into her room and returned moments later with a folded sheet of paper. She had been quietly working on a drawing while the adults were talking. She stood in front of them, holding the paper. "Auntie Mabel," she said sweetly, "see what I drew." Mabel took the paper and unfolded it. Her eyes widened with delight. "Wow, this is beautiful." She turned it toward Clinton. 3 stick figures were drawn on the paper: a man, a little girl in the middle, and a woman. Above them was a big red heart. "Who are they, baby?" Mabel asked gently. Ariana pointed proudly. "This is my daddy, this is me in the middle, and this is you, Auntie Mabel." Mabel smiled warmly, deeply touched. "Aw, you included me." But then came the surprise. "I want you to be my mother," Ariana said, her voice bright and serious. "Please marry my daddy." Mabel froze. Her mouth fell open in shock. What did you just say, baby?" "I want you to be my mummy," Ariana repeated with a soft, pleading smile. "Please marry my daddy." Clinton, too, was stunned. He quickly collected the drawing, staring at it for a moment, then looking at Mabel, then at Ariana again. He chuckled nervously. "This is a very sweet drawing, baby. But, you know, people don't rush into marriage. Marriage is not a small thing. It's not a game." He turned to Mabel. "Right, Mabel?" Mabel nodded slowly, still catching her breath. "Yes, baby. People don't just marry like that." Ariana's face dropped instantly. The light in her eyes dimmed. "Oh," she said softly, looking down at her feet. That tiny frown broke Clinton's heart. Mabel reached out and hugged her. "Hey, it's okay, sweetheart. Your drawing is beautiful, and I love you very much." Clinton rubbed his daughter's back, trying to cheer her up. "Don't be sad, baby. We're still one happy team, okay?" That night, after putting Ariana to bed, Clinton sat alone in his room. He sat on the edge of the bed, holding the drawing in his hands. He looked at the 3 figures and the big heart above them. It wasn't just a child's wish. It was a reflection of the love and bond they now shared. He glanced at the framed photo of his late wife on the bedside table. Her smile was still as calming as ever. He picked up the photo gently, held it close to his chest, and whispered, "She's amazing. Mabel is amazing." He looked into his wife's eyes in the photo and spoke quietly, almost like he was asking permission. "Should I make her my wife? Will you be happy for us, wherever you are?" There was no reply, just the soft hum of the night, but Clinton felt a deep peace in his heart, as though the answer had already been given. The next morning was a bright and peaceful Sunday. The sun shone gently through the curtains as birds sang softly in the garden. Inside the mansion, the atmosphere was calm but filled with quiet anticipation. Sir Clinton, Mabel, and little Ariana dressed up for church. Clinton wore a well-tailored black suit with a deep blue tie. Mabel wore a soft pink gown with a simple necklace, and Ariana twirled in her white and blue floral dress like a little princess. They all looked like a family. As they sat in church, Clinton listened to the sermon, but his heart was somewhere else, deep in silent prayer. "God, please show me. Is she the one? Is this the woman you've sent to heal us?" He watched as Mabel held Ariana's hand lovingly, even whispering to her during service and helping her flip through the Bible. Something in that moment gave him peace. Maybe it was the way Mabel smiled at Ariana, or how Ariana looked up to her like a real mother. He didn't know what it was, but he felt sure. When the service ended, he quietly drove them home. Once they were inside and Mabel had taken Ariana to change her clothes, Clinton rushed out again, his heart pounding with excitement. He first stopped at a luxury ring shop. After checking several options, he finally chose a dazzling white gold ring with a diamond that sparkled like a star. He smiled to himself. This is perfect for her. Next, he went to a boutique and selected a stunning wine-red dinner gown with a matching pair of silver heels. The gown was elegant but classy, the kind of dress that turned heads. He knew Mabel would look divine in it. Then he contacted a professional makeup artist and sent her straight to his mansion with the address. He made a final stop at a luxurious presidential suite he had reserved earlier that morning. The room was breathtaking, lit with scented candles, soft classical music playing, and decorated with rose petals, balloons, and photos of Mabel and Ariana. On the long glass table sat Ariana's favorite food, jollof rice, chicken, fried plantain, and freshly baked cake with "We love you, Mabel" written in icing. When Clinton got home, Mabel was still in her casual clothes. He handed her the shopping bags with a smile. "I want you to wear this tonight," he said warmly. "We're going out." Mabel blinked, surprised. "Tonight?" He nodded. "Just trust me." Moments later, the makeup artist arrived. She went to work, styling Mabel's hair into a graceful bun, giving her soft, natural makeup that made her glow. When Mabel finally wore the gown and heels Clinton had picked, even she gasped at her reflection. She looked stunning, like a queen. As she stepped down the grand staircase, Clinton, already waiting with Ariana, looked up and froze. "Wow," he whispered, rising to his feet in disbelief. Ariana ran to Mabel and hugged her tightly. "You are so beautiful, Auntie Mabel." Mabel smiled, her cheeks slightly pink. "Thank you, my baby." Clinton offered his arm and Mabel took it. They drove to the presidential suite where the guards opened the doors for them like royalty. Inside, Mabel gasped. The whole room sparkled. Ariana ran to the table with joy, shouting, "That's my favorite food. Daddy got my favorite food." They all sat down, quietly eating and smiling. Clinton couldn't stop glancing at Mabel. She looked like she didn't belong to this world, like she had walked out of a dream. After dinner, Clinton stood up slowly, took a deep breath, and turned to face her. "Mabel." She looked up, surprised. "Yes, sir." He smiled nervously, then dropped to one knee. Ariana squealed, her hands over her mouth. "Oh my God!" Clinton pulled out the ring box and opened it. The diamond caught the light and shone like a star between them. Mabel, you came into our lives and brought light, healing, and love. You didn't just care for my daughter. You loved her like your own. You didn't just stay in our home. You gave it warmth. You gave me peace again, something I thought I had lost forever. Mabel covered her mouth with her hands, her eyes already wet with tears. I don't know what the future holds, Clinton continued, but I know this. I want to walk through it with you by my side. I want us to be a family. I want Ariana to grow up calling you Mum, not just from love, but by right. Please marry me. I promise to make you happy. I promise you'll never walk alone again. Mabel was now crying, tears of joy, disbelief, and love. Before she could speak, Ariana jumped in, bouncing excitedly. Say yes, Auntie Mabel. Mabel looked down at Clinton, then at Ariana, then back at Clinton. Through her tears, she nodded. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes, I will marry you. Clinton stood and hugged her tightly, wrapping her in his arms like a man who had found something he never wanted to lose again. He kissed her gently, and Ariana hugged both of them at once. 1 month later, their wedding was the talk of the town. It was grand, emotional, and beautiful. White and gold decor filled the hall, with flowers trailing down the aisle and a soft violin playing in the background. Ariana walked down the aisle proudly as the little bride, standing right between Clinton and Mabel during the vows. Her dress matched Mabel's, and she held a tiny bouquet, smiling from ear to ear. Grandma and Grandpa sat in the front, and people from the orphanage with other children Mabel had grown up with sat at the second row. Her eyes watered seeing them all there. The orphan girl who once had nothing now stood before the altar as a beloved bride to a wealthy billionaire. As Clinton and Mabel exchanged their vows, there wasn't a single dry eye in the hall. I, Clinton, promise to love you, protect you, and walk with you through every season of life. And I, Mabel, promise to stand by you, love you deeply, and be the mother Ariana dreams of. When the priest declared them husband and wife, the applause thundered through the hall. Clinton kissed her gently, and Ariana screamed happily, Yay, Mummy and Daddy! It was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with love, family, and joy.